Hey, it's Myles for iHeartRadio Canada, and today is a celebration because I am joined by Sofia Carson, and her album, her debut album, is out today. It's Friday. Sophia, how are you?
Hi, Miles. I'm so happy. So happy. How are you?
I bet. Loving the visuals behind you as well.
Thank you.
Are
We
these
have
all
the album
emotions
trailer
about how you're
behind.
feeling right now, like fire and flames and
Precisely. That's exactly it.
so this was the trailer for the album that you released online. It's kind of like James
Exactly.
Bond intro-esque. Has anyone mentioned that before?
You're the second person who said that today, and I will take it. I think that is so cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as a British man, that's the biggest compliment you can get.
Truly. And I've always seen my music as kind of miniature movies, and I try to make everything cinematic. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the debut album. Sophia Carson is a 10-song love story. And it's, start to finish, just all these different stories. It's almost like a kind of love roller coaster, isn't it? It's up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind it, first and foremost?
Wrote my first song when I was 10, fell in love with songwriting and storytelling. And I knew that when I wrote my first album, I wanted to write a story from start to finish. And I've always been infatuated by writing about love. And so I wrote a story about love, a story about a girl who falls into a love that was deceivingly beautiful, only to get shattered into pieces, but nonetheless, a story about a girl who survives.
Wow, that's amazing. And our first taste of the
Thank you.
album was Fool's Gold. And
Yeah,
it's not the first song on the album, but it's obviously the kind of the first chapter and where you kind of you started
exactly.
this era of Sophia Carson. So talk to me about that song. I mean, as soon as it starts, it's just like, yes,
Yeah,
love it.
it captures you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fool's Gold is the first chapter of my story, and we kicked off the album rollout with that record. It's about the beginning of love, a girl who's about to fall into a love that feels too good to be true. And so she can't help but wonder, are you for real or are you fool's gold? And in the album trailer, you kind of hear a voiceover that I wrote using all of the titles of the songs, and Fool's Gold kicks it off because that to me is the first chapter of the story.
And more flames where those ones behind you came from in the music video.
More flames. Yes, we used the visual story of my album is told through the five elements, as you can kind of see portrayed behind me. And fire was the first one to start us off because it signifies the beginning of something. And so the whole video was just flames.
Yeah, it looked hot.
Thanks.
In more
It was
ways than
fun.
one.
Thank you.
And then if we move over to the song Loud, what would the element that you're kind of trying to capsulate, what would be the element for Loud?
Loud was told through the story of air or
Okay.
wind because it's about the voices of change, the winds of change, the women of the world who are at the forefront of history by being fearlessly loud.
Yeah, and what a great message. I saw you earlier
Thank
this
you.
month at the Billboard Women in Music Awards. What was it like
Yes.
to be there on a night where you were like, damn it, I wish my album was out right now. Like I want to be like although you were there celebrating with all these incredible women, wouldn't it have been amazing to have the album out there? So you'd be like, yes, I have a body of work here as well. I mean, has this month felt like the longest month waiting for the album to be released?
It's kind of it cut yes, but in a way it also snuck up on me. Like all of a sudden it's Friday. And I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. Even though, I've released over 10 singles and I've been a part of multiple soundtracks, releasing a body of work just feels different. It's like sharing a piece of your heart with the world.
And take me back to that night at the Billboard Women in Music Awards.
It was so special to be there. Women are the greatest force in the world. And I'm so lucky myself to have a team of extraordinary badass women who are making all of this happen. And it was beautiful to be there, just celebrating the power that we are and lifting up our voices and celebrating the extraordinary female musicians that are just, crushing it right now and an inspiration for all of us.
And another song on the debut album, "He Loves Me," but I just love as soon as it starts, you're like, this is like a dance beat, but it's been slowed down. And you're hearing so much of that on TikTok these days. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, like everyone
Yeah,
seems to be like taking an amazing song and slowing it down. And all of a sudden it's like, it sounds even better.
I
This is
guess
amazing.
you're right. It's funny because I've always loved songs like that, like mid-tempo songs that could be a ballad, but they're a little bit faster than a ballad. And the song has such soul and almost like an R&B flair to it. But that song was one of my most fun writing experiences. And we wrote the song in about 3 hours. I walked into the studio wanting to write a song about that moment when you get told, I love you, but. and kind of turn that on its head. And instead of writing a song about heartbreak, it's a song about a celebration of freedom. You know, the song that you sing with your best friends after you wipe your tears and you find it in you to be okay. And that's what the song is.
And I noticed that I think you said that you wrote that title down in a journal somewhere. Yeah. And so is that how the song started? It just started from that line. You were like, this needs to be a song. I don't know what it's going to be about, but this is a great line.
So a lot of my songs start off as song titles. Like my notes pages are brimming with song titles or half-finished songs. Words really inspire me, and so does poetry, and a lot of my songs start off as poems. This song in particular was based on something that happened to one of the closest people in my life, and she was telling me what she was feeling. And I remember her vividly saying, you know, he says it's best for me, but I don't really remember him asking me. Like, I wasn't a part of this conversation. And I was like, that needs to be a song. And just that concept of he loves me, but just felt so powerful and something that we've all experienced. And so that's how it was born.
What was your friend's reaction when they found out that the song had been finished and it was actually a thing?
It was amazing. I saw her as soon as I got home, and we drove in the car for hours and listening to the song. And I usually don't play my songs to people. As soon as I write them, I kind of live with them for a second. But this song, I just felt like I needed to share it with you know, my best friends. And it was so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. What are some of the other standout tracks on the album that you are most excited about?
It's so hard to pick because they're each, you know, they have a piece of my heart for different reasons. Our focus track of the album, my next single, is It's Only Love Nobody Dies, which is a song that title just immediately captured me. It's such a beautiful and such an empowering truth to say it's only love, nobody dies. Even in the moments when it feels like our whole world has crumbled into pieces, we're going to be okay, we're going to survive. And that was the last track that finished my album. So I'm really excited to share that one with the world.
What about the song on the album that you're most looking forward to performing live?
Oh my gosh, so many. Honestly, all of them. Yeah. All of them. All of them. I think Sugar will be a really fun one to perform live. The ballads, of course, all of them. I can't wait to be able to put on a show that tells my story from start to finish.
Well, you better bring that show up here to Canada. We can't wait.
Oh, I'm there. I love Canada so much.
Yeah? You've been before?
I have actually, for a couple of years, I spent more time living in Canada than I did in LA because I shot 5 movies in Canada over a couple of years in Vancouver and Toronto. There's
cameras everywhere. It's like the LA of the North. Like they're always filming stuff up here. It's great. Yeah. So that's amazing. Tell me about some of your work as you know, you're just a natural role model with UNICEF and about keeping women in schools.
So as a UNICEF ambassador, I have always dedicated my heart to UNICEF's fight for the voices of young women around the world. And I've always believed wholeheartedly that there's no greater force in the world than that of an educated young woman. And so this month, for Women's Month, the greatest month in the world, I partnered with my UNICEF family and we created a PSA with my song Loud. And it is dedicated to keeping girls in school. Because of the pandemic and because of the crises happening around the world, there are over 130 million girls outside of school. And that means that they've been robbed not only of their voices, but of their futures as well. And I believe that it is our duty to raise our voices and get loud on behalf of these young women. And so this act, the Keeping Girls in School Act, will protect them and protect their futures and make sure that the barriers that they face in accessing school disappear, as they should.
You know, when you hear of celebrities, and like growing up, I always remember when someone reaches a certain level of fame, they say, just kind of off the cuff, they say all the time, stay in school, you know, whenever they're talking to kids. But I think that phrase has been so overused that it just kind of now doesn't really mean that much. But like, you're actually taking it a step further and actually following through on it and being like, no, really, like, this is why it's important. And this is why young women and children and all over the world need to have an education.
Yeah. I think it's because, you know, we are very lucky that we don't have to think twice about our education and going to school. But around the world, there's so many, millions of girls around the world who don't have that right. And in not having that right, you're kind of silencing their voices and removing their futures. And we have to fight for them. And we have to make this a part of the conversation more and more.
Well, Sofia Carson, once again, congratulations on the debut album out now. And I'm sure that this album, there's going to be so many songs on it that will be the soundtrack to young women around the world, and they will
I hope so.
use some of the messaging in the music to kind of, you know, empower themselves and go on to do great things. So it's an amazing thing you're doing, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. Sending you my love.
Great to talk to you, Sofia. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.